Empire.
Welcome to Inside the Cap. I'm your host, Joel Corey. You can find me on Twitter at CORRYJOEL, and I have a regular column in Agent's Take at CBSSports.com. Today we're going to be talking about Dak Prescott's season-ending ankle injury and what it's going to mean for him financially, and also how long is Matt Ryan going to be an Atlanta Falcon. On Sunday in the third quarter of Dallas's 37-34 win over the Giants, Dak Prescott suffered an opener compound fracture and dislocation of his right ankle. He had surgery on Sunday night. The injury is not supposed to be career-threatening, and the expected recovery timetable is 4 to 6 months. Prescott was having his best year statistically when he got hurt through the first 4 games of the year. He looked like he was going to obliterate Peyton Manning's single-season passing record of 5,477 yards he set in 2013 with the Denver Broncos. Through those first 4 games, Prescott was projecting to 6,760 passing yards for the season and was completing a career-high 68% of his passes. That's what he did in the 5 games he played. Dallas' defense is horrible. And the only reason Dallas was staying in games is because Prescott was keeping them in games of his arm. So he was solidifying himself as a quarterback who wasn't just a caretaker, a game manager, but someone who could put his team in a position to be competitive through what he could do throwing the football. Now, he's playing on a $31.490 million exclusive franchise tag. The Cowboys and Prescott haven't been able to get a long-term deal done for a couple of years. Right before the July 15th deadline for franchise players to sign long-term, he supposedly turned down a 5-year offer, averaging close to $35 million per year. Had $110 million in guarantees. There's supposed to be $50 million in the signing bonus, and $70 million was in the first 2 contract years. The biggest sticking point throughout the negotiations all off-season was he wanted a 4-year deal, not the 5-year deal. There were reports that he would have taken the 5-year deal if Dallas would have agreed to a provision where they couldn't put a franchise or transition tag on him once the contract expired. Now, with the injury, there have been some people whose initial response was, well, Dak bet on himself, gambled, and he lost the bet. Well, I don't necessarily think that's the case. One thing you got to look at, first of all, is you talk about risky bets that Dak Prescott made. Last year was even the bigger bet to me, because Dak had made $2 million in the 3 years of his rookie contract, was playing the 4th year at $2.025 million, turned down $30 million per year. So you're risking $30 million per year to play for a little over $2 million. That's a different equation or calculus than if you are turning down $35 million per year, $175 million over 5 years. Obviously, it's not going to be fully guaranteed. But when you have $31.4 in your back pocket. Now, the Joneses, Stephen and Jerry, are saying all the right things. Stephen Jones said that on Monday in a radio interview that Dak Prescott is our future. And the next day, Jerry came out and said nothing's changed because of the injury in terms of their plans for Dak. Well, that's all well and good. Actions speak louder than words, though. I remember once upon a time, Dallas had a longtime starting quarterback named Tony Romo. Tony Romo fractures a vertebrae in his back in a preseason game in 2016. Oh, Tony's our guy when he gets healthy. Dallas gets off to a great start with Dak Prescott replacing him. That switch became permanent. Tony Romo lost his job. So it's great that Stephen and Jerry are saying what they're saying, but a lot of things can happen between now and the end of the season. They've got probably the best they could have done in terms of a backup quarterback, getting Andy Dalton. Average to slightly above average quarterback. Been a long-time starter in Cincinnati. Played there for 9 years and had a 70-61-2 record as a starter. So, well, if Dallas, who still could win the division because the NFC East or least is a horrible division, gets to the playoffs and want to make a deep playoff run and Dalton's playing well. Is Dak still the guy? We'll see. What if there's some sort of complications with the healing from the post-surgery complications, or there's a setback in recovery? That could change the equation too. But if all goes well with the recovery, and I think it's a slim possibility that Dallas is going to make a long or deep playoff run of that defense, no matter what Dalton does, because that defense is just terrible, quite frankly. We're probably going to be in the same place we were last year. You can't do an extension with Dak Prescott until the regular season ends on January 3rd. That's how the franchise player rules work. After that July 15th deadline, can't do a new deal, a long-term deal, till the end of the regular season. Now, at that point, Dallas should know how the recovery is going along for Dak. So, second franchise tag was always going to be $37,690,800. It's 20% raise over the first one. You can put a transition tag on him for the same amount, but all you have is a right to match in the offer sheet. And if you lose him for no compensation, you could always take the transition tag off if you thought you were going to lose him, like the Dolphins did with Olivier Vernon when he went to the Giants, and get a third-round compensatory pick. But if you stick another franchise tag on it, would probably be exclusive version again. So he's not shopping himself, and you're stuck with him again. Not stuck with him. That's probably poor choice of words. But he can't solicit offer sheets, I should say. Now, second franchise tag is going to be a little more challenging than the first one. Because of the coronavirus, the NFL and NFLPA anticipated a huge revenue shortfall. So they've negotiated a salary cap floor of $175 million. From my understanding, that was anticipating 0 fans in stands. We've had some teams who've had limited fans in stands, so maybe the revenues are going to be higher, so that the cap is not set at 175, and it's set, I don't think it gets back to the 198.2 that it is this year, but it'll be probably somewhere between those two numbers, probably tilting more towards the 175, leaning more that way than 198. Now, right now, Dak's $31.409 million of the current $198.2 million league-wide cap takes up roughly 16% of the cap. You tag him again, and let's say 2021 is at the cap floor, then he's taking up 21.5% of the cap. That, just sheer math, that makes it more difficult. And Dallas isn't in the best shape cap-wise. The teams that are far worse, like the Falcons that we'll get to when we talk about Matt Ryan. But they've got about $23 million of unused cap room right now, and unused cap room can be carried over to the following year. And they've got 44 players under contract next year, the top 51 count in off-season cap accounting. And those guys account for about $180.25 million in cap commitments. So you do the math right there. You're going to have basically be at like there's no way you could accommodate Dak's second franchise tag without having to restructure contracts or cut players or have people take pay cuts. So that's going to be a challenge in and of itself if that's the route they're going to go. And that's what I think is going to happen if they have to put the second franchise tag on him. I don't think that you're going to get a deal done before the time to designate him as a franchise player, which will be early March, depending upon when the league year starts next year. That definitely wasn't going to be the case if Dak hadn't gotten hurt. One thing we don't know is what the injury does to Dak's mindset. Is it going to make him more risk-averse when it comes to the negotiations? But one thing Dallas needs to be careful of is thinking, hey, we can take advantage of this injury from a contract standpoint, because Dak has a savvy agent, Todd France. He knows very well that Deshaun Watson, after the July 15th deadline, moved the needle for quarterbacks, $39 million per year on a 4-year extension. So you play hardball with Dak when negotiations pick up. That's going to lead him definitely to, you know what, I'm going to make you tag me. And if you don't, I'll take my chances in the open market if everything's healing. Dak would be an upgrade for some teams, a lot of teams, quarterback-wise. A team like the Jets probably wouldn't be a team that would be looking for Dak. They may end up with the worst record in the league, so they'd be drafting Trevor Lawrence. One team I'd keep an eye on if it went that route would be the Indianapolis Colts. 38-year-old quarterback Phillip Rivers, one-year deal, great shape cap-wise next year. They have $108 million in cap commitments, 36 players under contract, about $9.7 million of room to carry over for next year. They did a one-year extension with Jacoby Brissett in 2019 when Andrew Luck retired at $28 million. And he had been a average at best starter. So what are they going to pay Dak Prescott for abundance of cap room? Thought they had their quarterback for the next decade, Andrew Luck, till he abruptly retired. The defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, was the Cowboys linebackers coach first 2 years. Dallas will probably be afraid of Indianapolis making a run. I know the cap's going down, but my hunch is that the top free agents are going to get paid no matter what, no matter where the cap is. Let's say things go the way I think it will, and that you can't get a deal done with Dak. They stick the second franchise tag on him for basically $37.7. Now, if I'm Todd France, that's where we start negotiations. You stuck the second franchise tag on me. Don't come to me if anything under that. I'd still be looking at the 4 years if I'm Todd France. And by 4 years, I mean, hey, when my Dak's rookie contract expired, I wanted to be under contract for 4 years. You made me waste one on a franchise tag. Now it's 3. That wouldn't change for me, particularly if he was healing. And the healing was going the way I thought it would. And there weren't going to be any lasting effects. So at that point, if push came to shove and I got a willing client, I'll play for the $37.7 and go through this again. Maybe Dak is more risk averse and he wants to get a deal done so it's not hanging over his head again. But in any event, if you're going to get a deal done, in my mind, if this is how it goes, knowing that the Cowboys are caught between a rock and a hard place for 2022 because it's either free agency or a third tag at a 44% increase, which would be basically $54.275 million, Dak still is going to have a fair amount of leverage, provided Andy Dalton doesn't play lights out and take the Cowboys on a deep playoff run, or 2, there are complications with the recovery. Yeah, we know the huge cautionary tale is Alex Smith from his gruesome leg fracture. If Dak has the normal or smooth recovery, then if you're going to sign him long term, you're probably going to have to exceed the Deshaun Watson $39 million per year. He's probably going to be a $40 million per year quarterback. But that remains to be seen. Wish Dak all the best in a speedy recovery. And this story isn't going to end, and it's going to be something which is going to be topical until if and when there is a long-term contract for Dak Prescott. The Atlanta Falcons' 0-5 start led to head coach Dan Quinn and general manager Thomas Dimitroff getting fired by Falcons owner Arthur Blank. Raheem Morris is taking over as the interim head coach. When Arthur Blank was asked by the media about Matt Ryan and his long-term future in Atlanta, Arthur Blank was non-committal. It was like we'll take a wait-and-see approach instead of saying he'll be a Falcon for life. Now, that prompted immediate speculation that Matt Ryan could be traded this year. So that's because now people are thinking Matty Ice is on thin ice. Well, there's a certain thing called the salary cap, which will impact if and when Matt Ryan exits Atlanta. In 2018, he became the first $30 million per year player in the NFL when he signed a 5-year, $150 million extension. That extension had a $46.5 million signing bonus, which is prorated over 5 years. The signing bonus has $9.3 million of proration on the cap through 2022. There's also a $10 million option bonus to pick up an option for the 2023 contract year. That's prorated, also like signing bonus, for a maximum of 5 years, beginning in 2019. So that's $2 million of proration 2019 through 2023 with Matt Ryan's original contract. His 2021 cap number when the deal was signed was 34.3. In March 2019, the Falcons restructured his contract for cap purposes. What they did was they did a minor restructure. They converted $8.75 million of his base salary into signing bonus. So when you do that, you lower the current cap number and you increase the future cap number. So that added a proration of $1.75 million to years 2019 through 2023. Then, at the end of the year, December 27th, 2019, the Falcons did another contract restructure. They converted $12.5 million into an option bonus. And that $12.5 million is prorated 2020 through 2023. So that adds another $3.215 million of bonus proration years 20 through 2023. Now, Falcons didn't stop there. March 21st this year, they convert $6.95 million into signing bonus. So that's even more bonus proration coming into play. So prorated 20 through 2023 now is an additional $1,737,500. Now the upshot of all this is that Matt Ryan's 2021 cap number has gone from 34.3 to $40,912,500. In 2021, he now has 5 different sets of proration. He's got 2 option bonus prorations, 3 signing bonus prorations, the original signing bonus proration, and 2 restructure signing bonus prorations. All this adds up, and it's going to make it harder to get rid of Matt Ryan next year. You're not going to trade him this year because all the proration from 2021 and 2020 through 2023 would hit the cap in 2021. I think Matt Ryan is an Atlanta Falcon in 2021, except under one circumstance. I think if they're terrible enough and they're worse than the Jets, they get the number 1 pick, and Trevor Lawrence is sitting there, they're going to take Trevor Lawrence. And they'll worry about dealing with the cap consequences with Matt Ryan at that point. As I said, he's got a $40,912,000 500 cap number, $500 cap number in 2021. Now, he's got $5.5 million of his base salary guaranteed in 2021 with no offset. You're just not going to outright cut Matt Ryan. He has some trade value. Let's say that you did cut him, and you did it before June 2nd, because June 2nd is important because that's when the cap ramifications change. For a trade or release, which happens after June 2nd, you can delay the bonus. It is. The bonus proration in future years doesn't hit the cap immediately. It hits the following year. So that'd be 2022 in Matt Ryan's case. You can use post-G1 designation to accomplish the same thing, but we would have to carry the salary cap number until June 2nd. But you're not going to outright cut Matt Ryan before June 2nd because then, because of all the bonus proration from 2022 and 2023 hitting in 2021, plus you had a $5.5 million base salary guarantee with no offset, you would have the most dead money for one player in NFL history. $49,937,500. He's not getting cut. Trading him before June 2nd, you've got a similar issue. In a trade, if you're going to trade a quarterback, it's probably going to be no later than the draft. And if you did that, the dead money, because all the proration in 2022 and 2023 hits in 2021, would be $44,437,500. So you are actually increasing what the cap hit would be from having him on the roster. a trade after June 2nd probably would only occur in an in-season trade, or maybe you have a Sam Bradford type thing where, let's say you drafted Trevor Lawrence and you're going to have them both there for a year, which neither guy would like. But remember that a few years ago, I think it was 2016, the Eagles had re-signed Sam Bradford, signed Chase Daniel, were paying him top backup money, then drafted Carson Wentz. They're going to have Carson sit for a year, but Teddy Bridgewater had that career-threatening knee injury, and they were able to get a first and fourth round pick from the Vikings for Sam Bradford to go there. So you probably need a situation like that. Some team losing a quarterback for a year, season-ending injury, to have a trade after June 2nd. Now, what this probably means is Matt Ryan should be safe for 2021, just because it doesn't make sense cap-wise. Now, in 2022, he's got a $41,662,500 cap number. The cash is $23.75 million. The cash in 2021 is $23 million. The following year, it's $28 million. Now, from a cap standpoint, you could get rid of him by trade in 2022, and it would make more sense for you. Just from the standpoint that your dead money would be $26,525,000. So you'd actually end up picking up significant cap room. Or let's say you had the trade next year, and it's after June 1. After June 1, then you're going to have a $17,912,000 500 cap hit, and then that $26.525 million hits the cap in 2022. Now, if you'd left everything alone, never restructured the contract, you would have been in a better position to trade Matt Ryan next offseason. When you kick the can down the road, yeah, you get the immediate cap room, but there are consequences for wanting to get rid of a player sooner rather than later. And ideally, when you do restructures, you're doing it with guys who are going to be there, so you don't have the problem that the Falcons will have with Matt Ryan. If you left it alone, hadn't done anything, $34.3 million cap number, you would have had $24.6 million in dead money or a cap charge after the trade, and you would have picked up $9.7 million for a 2021 trade. If you waited till 2022, cap number would have been $35.05 million, the original one, and you would have had $13.3 million in dead money. So, yeah, you can kick the can down the road, push today's cap obligations off to tomorrow, but there can be consequences. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's Inside the Cap. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter. That is Corey Joel, CorryJoel, and my CBSSports.com column, Agents Take. Goodbye.